Good Shabbos. This week's portion is Chayei Sarah, and in it we have the story of Yitzchak meeting Rivka. But it's not the typical love story where they meet and fall in love at first sight, but rather Avram, Yitzchak's father, sends his servant to find a wife for Yitzchak, and he finds her. It's a classical shidduch, an arranged marriage. And what happens is when Yitzchak finally meets Rivka when she's being brought back to him, it says he brings her into the tent of Sarah, his mother. By Yikach as Rivka, he takes Rivka, which seems to be a language perhaps of marriage. But and she was to him as a wife. By Ye'aveha, and he loves her. By Yinachim Yitzchak achar imo. Yitzchak was consoled following the death of his mother by marrying Rivka and bringing her into a tent. It was a consolation for him. So there are many commentaries, especially modern commentaries today, which therefore say, you see, there's no such thing as love before marriage. Because what does it say? Yitzchak married her, brought her into the tent, and then he loved her. They say love comes after marriage. And they make the claim that you can't really love someone before marriage. You can't know someone so well, no matter what you're doing. Marriage, once you make that commitment, you live with someone, then you know and you could develop the love. I would disagree with that and say that this is not always true. It might have been true with Yitzchak, but we see with Yaakov in later stories what happens. It says he came to the field where Rachel, his future wife, was tending sheep, and when he saw her, he rolled a stone with superhuman strength away from off the well in order to make sure that he could give water to her sheep. And then afterwards it says, Rachel was very beautiful, and Yaakov is Rachel. Yaakov loved Rachel, and then he goes to love her father and says, I want to marry her. So there are many commentaries that say it doesn't really mean he loved her in the sense that we understand, but simply read the text, read what the Torah says, and it says he loved her. Uses the same word here for love. And therefore you see that he did love her before marriage. And not only that, he was motivated to make sure that he marries her after 7 years of hard labor. And it seems like it was love at first sight. So how do you reconcile these two stories of Yitzchak and Rivka? Yitzchak and Rivka versus Yaakov and Rachel. Is it possible that these are contradictory stories? I think the answer simply is no. I think it depends on who you are and what situation you're in. So, for example, when it comes to Yitzchak and Rivka, we see that Yitzchak's whole approach to life was much more passive. He was someone who, as the commentaries tell us, had the midah of gevura, the attribute of strength, which we understand as inner strength, the ability to accept your fate, to be stoic. He accepts his fate at the Akedah, at the binding where Avram is ready to sacrifice him. And here also he's accepting his fate. You give me your wife, she's mine. I'll live with her. And then it's true. He grows to love her, as many people do in arranged marriages. After they live with each other, find out more about them, and have many more things in common. They end up falling in love and having a deep and maybe greater love than someone who falls in love at first sight, which actually you see with Yaakov, there's tension in the marriage afterwards as the story unfolds. But that's Yitzchak, because that's Yitzchak's character trait and his situation in life. And therefore, he's not one who aggressively looks for a wife. He's brought a wife, right? And he's told actually by God later on not to leave the land of Israel, even when there's a famine. Yaakov, on the other hand, he's told to leave the land of Israel. He leaves the land under the direction of Yitzchak and Rivka later on. And he looks for a wife, and he's told to go look for a wife. And then he finds someone, he falls in love with her, because Yaakov's personality is much more assertive. And that's why his name changes from Yaakov, which means he's holding on to the heel, the akev, Esav, the heel of Esav, which in a sense he's a lower status, and things happen to people on lower status. And then his name is changed after he struggles with the man or the angel in the middle of the night. And now he's Yisrael. He has another name. Yisrael, because you fought or strove with God or angels and men, and you were successful. In other words, Yaakov defines himself as he develops in life as someone who's more aggressive. And again, we'll use the word assertive, which has less of a negative connotation. And that's what you see always in Yaakov's life. So therefore, that type of person, he looks for love, he finds love, he runs after the person that he falls in love, and love is possible. So therefore, I would argue that there is no set Jewish approach or natural approach to love. There are some people that fall into a situation, develop love, develop relationships, and there's others that are able to search for it and find it on their own. Again, does it work in either way? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. You could just look at the divorce statistics and see how many people are actually living happy marriages, whether they're arranged marriages or one that they fall in love at first sight. But I think both approaches are possible, and it's not only in terms of love. This is in terms of almost everything in life. There are different approaches to life. You could approach life to allow things to happen to you and be accepting, stoic, and that's tremendous value to someone in life, that they're able to live with what comes their way. And other people have to develop on their own, and that's what they need. That's what they feel that's driving them. And perhaps sometimes in a situation without that, they wouldn't get anywhere in life. Yitzchak was lucky; things were given to him. Yaakov was not. Yaakov was sent away, and he had to make his own life. And situations sometimes help develop personalities, and sometimes our personality is like that when we start out life. Sometimes we develop different character traits as we live. And I think this is an important lesson, that there is no necessarily one way in love and marriage, but there's many different approaches, and you really have to know yourself before you understand which direction you're supposed to take in life. Good Shabbos.